As we begin this new series on building our lab that we will use throughout this set of videos for different exercises, I want to start with showing you setting up the right environment for our various labs. Most likely, if you are at home with a personal computer and trying to follow along, you will want to build your own lab as you see in the video. When we come to this Microsoft page on how to install or enable Hyper-V or Windows, we need to look at the system requirements. In order to enable Hyper-V on your computer at home, you will need a Windows 10 that is either a professional edition or an enterprise edition. Or when it comes to Windows 11, you will need either a professional edition or again an enterprise edition. In other cases, you can also use Windows Education Edition. That is either Windows 10 Education or Windows 11 Education. And most likely, if you work in a school environment, you will have the Windows 10 or Windows 11 Education Edition. The point I'm trying to make is, with Windows 10 or Windows 11, you can only enable or install Hyper-V if you are using a professional edition or an enterprise edition or the education edition. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because when you have a laptop that you are using at home that is not a work-related laptop, 90 to 95% your Windows would be a Windows Home Edition. So it will either be Windows 10 Home Edition or Windows 11 Home Edition. In that case, you are not able to install or configure Hyper-V on that Windows simply because Windows 10 or Windows 11 Home Edition doesn't support Hyper-V. So because I want you to be able to follow along from home, I'm just thinking in advance and not build my lab on Hyper-V. Simply because if you have a Windows Home Edition, as I said, you wouldn't be able to follow along. So I'd rather use a platform that is available to everyone, irrespective of the edition of Windows that you have on your computer. So that brings us to my next point, which is open a new tab and then put download VirtualBox. You press enter. Then scroll down and you will see this virtualbox.org/wiki/downloads. And then you click on it. Or even if you don't see that, if you see the website virtualbox.org, you can just simply click on that. It will bring you to this page and you can just come up here and click on download. And it will bring you to the download page. Because on my computer right now, I'm using Windows. So my platform is a Windows host. So I will click on the first option, Windows host. If you happen to be using an Apple computer, so if you are using a Mac that has an Intel processor, you will click on Mac OS/Intel host. If you are using a distribution of Linux, you will download the version of Oracle VirtualBox for Linux. If you are using Solaris, which I know you most likely will not be using at home on your personal computer, but who knows, right? So you can just download VirtualBox for Solaris. But I will come to Windows host and click on that, and then I will just close this. This is just a software that I use to download. It's a download manager software. So you may not already have it, but your browser will be able to still prompt you on downloading this software. So you just click on start download and it will start to download. Okay, so mine has finished downloading. So most likely yours will download with the web browser. You can just click on these three ellipses in the top right corner and you can come to downloads and it will show you a list of things that you have downloaded. So let's say this is the Oracle VirtualBox that you have downloaded. You can just click on show in folder. It's going to open to the part of the computer where that download was downloaded to, right? So for mine, it has gone into this folder called programs. So I'm just going to double click on programs. And then this is the setup for VirtualBox. I'm going to double click on it. So with the user's account control, I will just click on yes to allow this software to make changes to my computer. Now I'm invited to the welcome wizard. So I will just begin the installation process by clicking on next. So once I click on next, I have the end user license agreement. So I will click on the first option, which is I accept the terms in the license agreement, and go to next. And then these options are already enabled by default. So I will just click on next. And then it will tell me that upon installation of the Oracle VirtualBox, it is going to install some virtual networks on my computer. And these will require at least a reboot or a resetting of my network interface. And I'm okay with those changes. So I will just click on yes to proceed with the installation. So I will click on yes. And then again, it tells me that my computer is missing some dependency. So it's going to install those dependency. I'm just going to say yes, install those dependency. Then I'm brought up to the screen where it will associate the file with the registry. It will create shortcut in the launch. It will create the desktop shortcut and start menu entries. If you've been watching my channel, you know I don't like having icons on my desktop. So I will just uncheck just this one to do not create shortcut on my desktop. And then I will just go to next, and then I'll click install, and then I will give it a few seconds and allow it to install Oracle VirtualBox. And once Oracle VirtualBox has successfully installed, it brings you to the screen to start VirtualBox. So if I keep this check and click on finish, it's going to launch the VirtualBox. But what I would recommend is just uncheck this and click on finish and just restart your computer so that the changes can take effect. You don't really have to do it, but I recommend that you do it because sometimes some of the settings may not be available to you if you don't restart your computer. So I'm going to pause the recording of this video. I will restart my computer, and then we will take off from where we left off. All right, so I have successfully restarted my computer. So I'm just going to take off from where we left off. So I will click on Start, and then I will just click on Oracle VirtualBox. In case you don't see Oracle VirtualBox, you can just simply search in the menu, Virtual, and then it shows you Oracle VirtualBox. So I'm just going to click on Oracle VirtualBox, and then Oracle VirtualBox will open. So now that we have Oracle VirtualBox, we have two modes at the top right of the Oracle VirtualBox. We have the basic mode and the expert mode. So in the middle, it tells you the basic mode is internal for those who are not interested in advanced functionality. And then the expert mode is for people who are experienced. So I would just say click on the expert mode because we know how to use Oracle VirtualBox. And we are also interested in advanced functionality of the Oracle VirtualBox. So this is the Oracle VirtualBox window that we have right here. So the very first thing we want to do here is to click on New. And this allows us to first create the virtual computer on which we will install our operating system. So the first operating system we're going to install in our VirtualBox will be Ubuntu server. So I will say Ubuntu server. And since this is the first Ubuntu server, I will put 01. This is just the name of the virtual computer that I'm creating on my Windows. This has nothing to do with the Ubuntu operating system name, like the host name. So when we install the operating system on this virtual computer, we will give it a name, which will be called the host name. This is just to be able to identify it because as we build our lab, on the left, we will have a list of different virtual computers here. So this name will be the name that this virtual computer will be identified by. So I just want us to keep that in mind. So I'm just going to keep the default location is going to my drive C, and then I can just add the operating system later. So I'm just going to leave ASO just like that for now. And then Yes, it's Orlando's Ubuntu 64-bit, and I'm just going to click on finish. So once I do that, I will have this like this. So now you see the name Ubuntu Server 01. So we can go ahead to create a lot of virtual computer, and these virtual computer are just blank virtual computer. We will have to come and install an operating system on them later. So what I will do here is I will come to storage. I will click on storage, and then it's going to open my storage. So I'm just going to come to controller IDE, which is my virtual DVD drive. Right now it's empty, so I will click on empty, and then I will click here and I will choose the disk file. So I will click on that, and then I will just browse to my downloads, and I'll look for my Ubuntu image. So I have the Ubuntu desktop, but I want us to install the Ubuntu server, because when you work in the corporate environment, you will be interacting mainly with Ubuntu server rather than the desktop edition. So the desktop edition is something that you can install on your personal computer to use at work, but on a server in the workplace, you will more likely be using the server edition. So we're going to install Ubuntu server. So I will click that image, and I will click on open, and then I will click on OK, and then the image has been connected to my virtual Ubuntu server. So once that image is connected, the next thing I'm going to do here is just to come up to start and click on start, and it's going to boot up my virtual server. So I'll give it a few seconds and allow the virtual server to start. So I'm just going to maximize this. So now I have the option try or install Ubuntu server. I will just press enter to install Ubuntu server. So I'm going to come to view and then click on skill mode. It tells me that the virtual machine will switch to skill mode, so host plus C. So it tells us here host key is currently defined as the right control. So keep that in mind. We'll use the right control and C to switch into skill mode, or we can use right control plus home. So just keep that in mind. So I will just click on switch. It's actually gotten smaller than anticipated. So I will go back to so for now I will just click on this add to close this menu. So now we have to pick the language that we want to install. So right now it's on English, which will be English United States. If you are in the UK, you'll pick English UK. I'm in Canada, it's English UK, so I'll pick English UK. So pick the language that you want to install Ubuntu in, and then press enter. So I'm just going to pick English UK, and I will press enter. And then at the bottom, it tells us that you can either go back, or you can continue without updating, or you can update to the newer installer. So I'm just going to pick the second option, continue without updating. I'm using the up and down arrow key to just move between these options. So I'm on continue without update, and I'm just going to press the enter key on my keyboard, and then it's going to go to the next option. So now it has identified my keyboard, and I'm just going to click on enter so that I can activate the option done. So I'll press enter, and then it analyzes my computer, and then it brings a few options on the screen. So the first option that already has the X is Ubuntu server. So we want to install the Ubuntu server, and then the second option is Ubuntu server minimize, and then additional option that installing third party. We just want to keep everything to the default. So since the Ubuntu server is already active, we'll just click on enter, which will go to the next page. It has assigned an IP address to our Ubuntu server, and we will just click on done. And then do you have proxy? We don't have proxy server, so no proxy address. We just press enter. Then we allow it to test the location. So we just press done, and then check, and then it tells us that it's still running the check of the location. So we just come down to continue and press continue. So these options are selected. Use the entire hard drive. Set up this disk as an LVM group. So it's already selected by default. So we just keep it and just go down and just press enter on done. It gives us a summary of all the options that we have selected, and then we can just click on done. And then selecting continue below will begin the installation. So we want to select continue, and then we'll use the down arrow for that, and then we'll press enter on continue. And then now this is where we can give the name and other information, right? So what is our name? For us, it's called Louise Academy. Now this is where we will define the host name of our Ubuntu server. So I'm just going to say Ubuntu server SVR 01. Then I press tab to come to pick a username. So I just put username KLA, press tab, put my password, confirm my password, and then I can use tab to come down to done, and I will just press enter, and then it's asking me if I want to upgrade to the professional edition. I don't want to, so I'll just keep it to the default option, which is skip for now. I'll just press enter on continue. So right to this screen, we have SSH configuration. So the SSH allows us to do remote connection to our Ubuntu server, which is something that you will always do in the workplace, because in the workplace, you sit in your office at your desk and the server is in the server room. So instead of walking from your desk and going and work from within the server room, you can just sit at your desk and remotely connect to the Ubuntu server and operate the Ubuntu server, do whatever configuration you need to do, or do whatever maintenance or whatever tasks you need to do. So in that case, we will install the OpenSSH. So it is not selected by default. So to install it, we'll just press the space bar. It will put an X there, which means we have selected to install OpenSSH. And then we can just go to tab and then come down to done and press enter, and it's going to show us additional things that we can install. For now, we'll just press tab and come down to done. We can always install those things later. So we'll just press enter, and then it's going to start the installation process. As you can see, it tells us that it is updating. So we can see updating system. So we'll allow it to install. I'm just going to switch. So I will give it some few seconds and pause the video and allow it to install. And then after the installation, we'll come back and continue. All right, so the installation has successfully completed. As you can see at the top, it tells us installation complete. So we can come down with tab. Now we are on view full log, and then we'll press the down arrow to reboot now. So I'll press enter on reboot now so that I can reboot the server. So I'll press enter, and then it's going to reboot our Ubuntu server. So it's giving an error because the virtual DVD is still connected. So we need to remove that before we can reboot. So I'm just going to press right control and C, and now I'm going to come to the virtual machine. I'm going to just click on machine and then settings, and I'll go to storage, and this is the virtual DVD. Right now it doesn't seem to have the virtual DVD because it's showing empty. So I'll just press enter on that. Okay, so it just ignored it after pressing enter. So I'm just going to press right control and C, and then click switch so that I can maximize the stream. So right now it's rebooting. We'll just give it a few seconds and allow our Ubuntu server to restart. So I'm just going to tap on enter. Yes, because sometimes it hangs. Yeah, so you just have to press enter. Now we can see the log on screen. So we'll just put in our username, KLA, and we'll put the password, which was just the same KLA, and press enter. And now that we are successfully logged into our Ubuntu server. So if we type host name and just press enter, it shows us the host name, which is Ubuntu SVR01. So we have successfully installed Ubuntu on our virtual machine, and we have also successfully logged in. Next thing we want to do is to be able to connect to this Ubuntu server. So imagine that we have installed this server and we went and mounted it in the server room in our server rack. Now we are back to our desk, whether at the office or if we are working remotely, we are back to our computer. So we need to remotely connect to this Ubuntu server and manage this Ubuntu server. So how we can go about that is to we can always work from the terminal, but I'm trying to simulate what you will experience in the real world. In the real world, you wouldn't go and sit in the server room, like I said, and just be working from there. You will usually remotely connect to your server, whether it's Windows server or whether it's Linux-based server, you will remotely connect to it and perform whatever task you need to perform. So let's suppose now this is a server. We have done the installation. So what we want to do here is we want to use software that can allow us to perform an SSH connection. So we'll come to our web browser and I will open a new tab. There is a software I remember back in those days when I was in Ghana working in 2008. We used to use a software called Secure CRT. You can use it to do SSH connection. I really like it, but this software is not free, right? So for us right now, we don't want to spend money when we don't need to spend money. So if you can afford to buy the Secure CRT software, you can by all means buy it and use it. I really like it. It's a nice software. But for our purposes here, we will use Putty. So you just put PUTTY and press enter, and we go to the website for Putty. It does similar thing like Secure CRT, but this is free, right? So we want to use this one. So I will just come here to the 64-bit because my computer is a 64-bit and just download the setup for that. So if you are using a 64-bit with an ARM processor, download and install the second one. And if you are using a 32-bit, which no computer right now, I shouldn't say no computer, but it's hard nowadays to find a 32-bit computer. But if you are using a 32-bit computer, then you download this third option. That is if you are using Windows. So they have other edition here for other operating system that you can download and install. So I'm just going to go back up and click on the 64-bit Putty to download it. And then you're going to start to download. It says start download. It's done. I'll say open folder. It will open the Putty setup. So I'll just double click on this. I'm going to install Putty. So I'm just going to click next. It's going to show me the default location that I will install it on Windows. I'm okay with that location. I'll click next. And then add Putty shortcut to desktop. No, I don't want to. But if you want to, you can just click on this. You can say entire feature will be installed on local hard drive, right? So I don't want to add a shortcut to the desktop. So I'll just click on install. And then with the user account control, I'm just going to click on yes. And then I don't want to read a readme. So I will just uncheck that and click on finish. And then now I should have Putty. So when I click on start, I can just type in the name Putty, and there you have Putty. So I will click on Putty, and then Putty will open. So this is how Putty looks like. So the next thing we want to do now is to get the IP address of our Ubuntu server. So we need to know the IP address because there are two ways you can connect to it. You can either connect to a device on the network through the IP address or through the host name. So we will come to that, but there's something called DNS, which make it possible for you to either connect through the host name or through the IP address. But we will come to that later. So right now, we just want to know the IP address. So I'm just going to use right control and C and click switch. I just want to maximize this. So now we need to type the command to get the IP address of our Ubuntu server. So we can just type the command IP and address. So you can even just do ADDR, even if you don't spell the whole thing, and just press enter. It's going to bring out the IP information. As we can see, we have two network information. So the first one has the IP address of 127.0.0.1. This is the loopback address. As you can see the name right above it, loopback. So this is our main network card, which is the ENP0S3. So the IP address of that is 10.0.2.15. So on our Windows computer, we'll come to the command line by just putting CMD and press command prompt. And then we want to type the command ping. And then we want to ping that IP address. So 10.0.2.15 and press enter. So the first thing is that we are not able to ping that IP address. So we will just go to our virtual machine manager and just click on the network here. So we can just change from NAT, which is network address translation. So we can change it to bridge adapter. So when we do bridge adapter, what it's going to do is going to create a link between our computer or our laptop or desktop, whatever computer you install Ubuntu on within the virtual environment. It's going to put it on the same network virtually. So when you click OK, there should be a bridge between my host computer and the Ubuntu computer. And now when I come to my Ubuntu server, I just can type in IP AD. You can even type AD and just press enter. It will still show you the IP address. So now we can see now our IP address has changed from that 10.0 IP address. It has changed to 192.168.1.243. So when I come to my Windows computer and ping that IP 192.168.1.243, press enter. So now I can get reply from the ping. So I will just copy this IP address of my Ubuntu server. I'll press. So you just highlight it and you press enter on your keyboard. It will copy it. And then you go to party. So we will put in that IP. So I'll just right click and click paste. The connection type is on SSH. Keep it to SSH. The default port for SSH is 22. So we'll keep it to the default. So all we're doing here is either put in the host name or the IP address. So we have put in the IP address. So we'll click on open. And then because we are creating an SSH connection to this Ubuntu server for the very first time, we will have this host key information. We need to cache it to our computer so that we can always remotely connect through SSH. So for the very first time, you'll say accept, and then we'll save it to your computer. So subsequent connection, it wouldn't have to ask you for this. So I'll click on accept, and then now we can see we are brought straight to the log on screen of our Ubuntu server. So I will just right click on the settings of the PuTTY here and just click on, I'm looking at change settings. I just want to increase the font size so that it's visible for you. Going to go to appearance, change the font size to 14, click OK. Very good. So now we have increased it. So maybe I should just right click, go back there. I don't want to change the background color. Default background, maybe I want to give it that light green. I think this will be okay. Apply. Yeah, so maybe we can make the writing white. So just say change color, default background. We give that green. Okay, so what we can do is, right click, just going to make this thing. So background, so that's a default foreground. Is that foreground, is it going to affect the text? Yes, okay, so it affected the text. So the text now is white. I think we should make the text green and just make the background black. How about that? Change settings, color, background, modify. I'm just going to take black background, and then foreground, I will take the green. Let's see which one. Maybe this green. Okay, apply. Yes, and this is much better. At least it's legible. Yes. So now that we are connected here, so if we put host name, this is Ubuntu SVR01. If we put the IP space address, we see our IP address is 192.168.1.243. If you look here here is 192.168.1.243. So we have successfully performed a remote connection to our Ubuntu server through SSH using PuTTY. So going forward in subsequent labs, we'll continue to use PuTTY to perform remote connection to our server, because this is how it would be in the workplace. You will sit at your desk, open PuTTY, or whatever your software is, your preferred software is, as you say, whether it's Secure CRT, is PuTTY, or maybe it's just from the command line. So we can even do it from the Windows command line. So let me show you how you can do it from the Windows command line. So from the Windows command line, what we can do is this. We can say SSH space, then we put the username, KL8, and we put @ and then we put the IP address. So our IP address is 192.168.1.243 and press enter. Then because again we are connecting for the very first time, it's going to say, are you sure you want to continue connecting? So we'll just say yes and press enter. So we'll put in our password KLA and we'll press enter. So you see, we have also done the SSH connection just from the Windows terminal. So again, everything here has to do with preference. You can just use your Windows terminal to do SSH, or you can use PuTTY, or you can use Secure CRT. It's completely up to you. The point I'm just trying to show here is this is how you will be connecting to your server remotely through SSH using any of these means, and then you just do your work from there. So from the Windows terminal, if I put host name, it is the same host name. If I put IP address, it is the same IP address, right? And nowadays, the Windows terminal has really improved. Like you can open a new tab and you can perform another connection to another server. Let's say you have multiple servers that you want to connect to at the same time, and you can just switch in between tabs. You can do it. So you can even change the color of the Windows terminal and all of those settings. You can do those customizations. So this brings us to the end of today's episode. So make sure to like this video if you like it. Leave a comment if there's something that you need clarification about. Just leave those in the comment section below. I'll make sure to answer it. But share this video with someone who will find this video useful. But without further ado, take care and I will see you in the very next video. Bye.